Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today with conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen and follow and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach pages and groups. Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Zoom, yeah. No, almost. Okay, yeah, there we are recording. Okay, Adam Barney, thank you so much for coming to the Dear Business Coach podcast today. How are you doing?
It's great to be here, Elizabeth. It's great to join, and I can't wait to dig into the conversation here.
Yay, thank you. We were just talking about all kinds of things, spring and transitioning and events, things like this. I didn't really know too much about your speaking career until recently. So before I ask you a little bit about your background, though, how do you introduce yourself, Adam?
So, Elizabeth, I love to introduce myself. I'm an energy coach, right? I help emerging and executive leaders take all of the natural energy rhythms that we have inside of ourselves, the energy boosts and the drains, and optimize that to higher efficiency. And ultimately, I love to be the person who's the battery pack or the cheerleader in their back pocket. So that's where I come from though, and what I love to do in the world. I my first book was published last year. It's called Make Your Own Glass Half Full: The Empowered Path to Optimism and Autonomy. And those tools are hugely impactful in terms of not just executive leaders, but the next generation of emerging leaders that are coming up in the world and going to make the world a more just, positive, equitable place.
Hey, listeners, don't forget to subscribe to email if you haven't already. Do this at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. And if you are a new subscriber, look for the magazine coming up. You can get a free download as a new subscriber. That's dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember, you are a superstar. Yeah, well, energy coach is a good title. And was that something that you came up with right away in your business, or how did that title evolve?
No, that title actually took quite a journey, and I think as coaches and entrepreneurs, we all know you have to iterate over time. So my background, though, goes into an over 20-year nonlinear corporate marketing career. I worked everywhere from venture capital-backed startups to global scale companies. I managed teams of 20 people. Through that, worked with clients of upwards of $20-30 million a year in terms of marketing budget that I was managing. And what this goes back to is something that I always believed in early in my transition of going from being an independent contributor to a manager and a leader of teams. Was my role is to not just help my employees succeed in their day-to-day job. My perspective was always, I want to help you get to the next role and then the role after that. So my perspective has always been, let's lift other people up in the world and let them use the potential and the vision that they have inside themselves and keep them energized and accountable towards actually going after that vision and move in that direction. But I left the corporate world intentionally. I used a tool called the regret minimization framework to make that decision. And in the first 2 years of business, I called myself a growth coach. And I always felt a little bit misconstrued with that. I think growth can be interpreted in a number of different ways. 2 years into business, I realized what I've always led with my clients and the teams that I've managed is energy. So I've seen it time and time again, digging into my superpower of networking with conversations with hundreds of people around the globe, even across tools like Zoom. when we first start the conversation, the energy level can be down here at the bottom. And by a third or halfway through the conversation, you start to see that light switch flip in terms of energy. So I had to do some learning though to understand that was actually what I deliver through my coaching. And there are other people out in the world who call themselves energy coaches. I'm deeply wound in the climate change community as well. So I've had people even go, "Oh, so you're a coach in solar and wind energy, right?" And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is all about personal energy and how to get more benefit from the positive energy, the uplifting energy that's inside of each of ourselves. And then obviously the deeper impact is the ripples that it leads to across the world when you lead in that upward perspective.
When you're bringing energy to your leadership, you have that ripple effect. That's impact. That is
Exactly.
impact.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been a journey though. Just like any
Well, wow.
who
So what
wants
do
to
you
coach
mean by
coaching.
that? Your journey, you mean personally coming to that framework for yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of nonlinearity, right, in my own clients' journeys, and my journey has been nonlinear as well, where I've in my corporate career I was laid off twice, and I pulled up my bootstraps, and I knew it was going to be okay. I tell stories in my book about my own journey, but it also pulls in some of the positive psychology in the world that stems back from Martin Seligman and distills it down to a usable level, as well as weaving in the stories of thousands of years of human history where people faced challenges and used optimism and autonomy to lift out of it. I didn't realize that's where I was 20 years ago. Early in my corporate career through the 2008 financial crisis, I was working in the global ad agency world and
Mm.
working with clients like, Bank of America, who are a hugely impactful company, and I was helping them get bigger and stronger in the world, and going home at night and saying that's not moving things in a positive direction. So that's
Mm.
an internal learning journey that I've always been on through not just my moving into coaching position for business, but I've evolved through my perspective. And actually, one of my favorite visualizations in the world. It's the only visualization that I have in my book. I got approval from Tim Urban, who runs a blog named Wait But Why. And it's this concept that I continually go back to of your life on a chart. You've got time basically with today in the middle. You're born is, well, you're more backwards, right? So you're born over
Right.
here. There's one green line that leads to today and a bunch of tentacled black lines of other paths you could have gone down. Then you've got today, and you look past today, and it's about a dozen tentacled winding lines. So that non-linearity, when you lean into that and sit in the center of what drives you, and I like to use with my coaching clients two tools. One is Ikigai, the Japanese concept for a reason for being that ties together what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, what you can get paid for. And then I tie that with what's called an Odyssey plan that looks 5 to 10 years in the future. When you sit in the center of that vision and look to the future, that's something when you stay resilient towards that, you can make a deep impact on the world and also in terms of your own self-satisfaction and self-efficacy.
Mm. The word odyssey is fitting, isn't it? If I think of an odyssey in literature, I immediately think of trials and tribulations along the way.
Exactly.
Well, what about your experience in marketing and being able to, as a leader, share with people that you are interested in their promotion and their self-development? Was that something that you were bringing to your leadership on your own volition, or were you a part of a company or a team that you were lucky enough to learn some of that from?
I got to see both sides of that coin. Honestly, Elizabeth, I worked in organizations and on teams that had fantastic leaders that had that perspective of leveling the team up and that concept of all boats raise the ocean in place. But I also had those much more difficult, less effective leaders who didn't operate in that, and they were micromanagers, or they didn't provide transparency and communication, and they would push a team down, right? It would keep
Mm.
the team on a downward cycle. So I feel like my leadership perspective, which always came from this concept of using optimism and autonomy for my team, hiring people that, you know, basically trusting my gut early in that hiring process. I knew even in those early leadership days, bringing in junior or mid-level employees that I was going to bring onto my team, I knew in the first 5 minutes of the interview whether they were going to be the right hire or the wrong hire.
Mm.
And it goes back to my leadership and the way that I lead, but it was always understanding you've got the details on a resume with the background.
Mhm.
It's also because marketing, it's not like we're neurosurgeons, right? It's
Okay.
for engineers,
Mm.
you can learn this as you go. So if you're hungry, you're energized, and you're moldable, those were the people that I brought into my teams because I felt like I could always enable them with communication and transparency and that upward perspective. That would influence them to be able to achieve more and then get to not just the job I hired them for, as I mentioned earlier, but the next role and then the role after that. And, dig into that nonlinearity and knowing that what we do now influences where we go in the future was always critical to the way that I led teams and the way that I've evolved in the world.
Yeah, well, now what if you are someone who is making a move and you don't think that it looks um, m- uh, maybe you think that maybe I think that linear is uh when I finish ninth grade I go to 10th grade, when I finish 10th grade I go to 11th grade, and in a career path, whether it's yours or inside of an organization, meaning whether you are the owner of a company or you're working with somebody else or for somebody else, then what happens is you could be faced with some choices that are either look like a clear promotion or you feel like you're going laterally.
Right.
And so when you say in a non-linear way, I wonder if that also could mean, what if I take an opportunity or a different position that looks on paper like I'm just going laterally? And do
Right.
you see people facing that as like a personal growth dilemma?
I actually do view that as a personal growth dilemma. One of the things that I think we hear so much about in the world, and I don't like to talk too much about it, is the idea of imposter syndrome growth versus growth mindset, right?
Hmm.
So it's not so much even just imposter syndrome as it is about self-limiting belief, right? It's about I've done what I can do. I was even this is tangentially related. At the end of last year, I was at an event in a room with a group of female founders, and it was a panel on how female founders can enter the conversation about getting investment, getting venture capital investment put behind them. But one of the interesting things that came back through that event was this idea of how men present in a promotional mindset and women operate in a prevention mindset. And that's a broad strokes way to think about things, but not even from a male versus female mindset or a gender standpoint.
Right.
Think that if you sit in the center of what drives you, ultimately that can lead you on that path to something that's going to drive to greater satisfaction for you.
Right. And so that's that. Yes, I thank you. I was just curious about your perspective. If um, I've experienced that myself, of course. Where I'm like, oh, okay, I need to make a choice here about doing something different going forward. Does going forward mean that it might seem that I'm choosing something lateral, and that may not be the case. It's just it's
But
a
it
position for you, a choice.
Exactly. It's a choice. It's a decision to make, and it depends on the season of life that you're in as well, right? I've actually coached a lot of seasoned leaders over the last couple of years who have led big teams, and that's not where they want to be right now. They actually want to simplify a little bit and take that have a different weight on their shoulders to not necessarily be independent contributors, but be more strategic leaders who don't have the weight of a large team that they're managing to make a bigger impact in the world. And I think that speaks to the nonlinearity that we all are up against as well, because if I'm leading a team of 20 people, that's not where I want to be right now. You know what I mean? There's different flavors at different times that lead to the changes we need to make in our paths and our careers.
Yes, good. Well said. Well said. So that brings me back to your the phrase, the word autonomy, because I'm now thinking that you. Uh, well, let me also preface with another personal thought is that in a sales role, which is where I spent a lot of time, the autonomy is what I liked about it. Now that would be hard. It's hard for me to imagine teaching autonomy when you are in fact a part of the team. How do you do that?
I, I there are ways that you can manage up in the world, and there are ways that you can manage down to the team that you have. Autonomy, though, is something that we all have within inside of ourselves, and it's that belief in ourselves that we lead into. I'm someone who's never been driven by outside competition.
Mhm.
I've always been driven by my own internal self-determination and self-efficacy more than anything else. So when I think about autonomy, it's not just being able to act independently. It's about being able to take that independent action within the framework of what you're trying to achieve, no matter what the role might be. And sales is a great example, Elizabeth, right? Because you're operating in roles that you're not going to step in with as high of a salary off the off the starting point.
Mhm.
You have to work off of a commission basis, or build that quota, and that's all that self-led determination of how do you number one, believe in what you're selling and sell it appropriately, but also get into the that autonomy piece. Like, that's your own path to carve. If you don't act towards carving it, you're not going to have that income stream that you hope to have as a salesperson.
Right. And so that's a kind of a my question there was a little bit of a base question, and and I may have misinterpreted or forced you into a conversation about autonomy that wasn't quite the way that you present it. So I'm curious.
That's okay. No, autonomy is about, just knowing that you're working on a path of something and you can get it done. That's how I define autonomy at the most basic level. And no apology needed, because there are
Mm.
different interpretations of how that autonomy works in so many ways.
Yeah, and it's worth studying too as far as internal motivation. What is your motivation? It's funny that you said that it's funny that you specified that you that you personally are rewarded for from inside internal motivation, not necessarily by outside competition. And I feel the same way. I also was like not interested in beating the next guy. I
Right,
was interested in beating myself.
right, right. To
So
get
I mean, there's a lot of reward in that.
to get back though into that more probably acutely, as I've just had a couple minutes, Elizabeth, to think about it. Autonomy from my perspective isn't about working alone, it's about working aligned.
Mm,
Knowing where your energy flows best and having the confidence to choose your own path, and but building the systems that support that vision, and not have it necessarily not be someone else's version of success. And
mm.
it's not pushing toward independence for the sake of it. It's designing a place where you're free to decide, you're equipped to thrive, And that autonomy means having, tools, habits, and clarity to lead with that purpose and not that outside pressure, right? So
Mm.
much of the world, I've lived on both sides of it, burnout in high performing environments, that deep recharge that we get in terms of energy comes from regaining your own agency. That's the autonomy that comes into play. And even more acutely, I see autonomy as the engine of optimism, right? And then when you pair it with resilience, that's when leaders truly do start to move the needle, not just in their career, but communities, lives, and the wider world around us.
Are you a LinkedIn user? If you are, you can join me for LinkedIn Live Audio with Elizabeth every week, usually on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I will have a LinkedIn Live Audio where we talk about podcasting for executives who speak and podcasting for team leaders who speak. These are the themes that are currently running. If that sounds like something you're interested, visit me, Elizabeth Walker at Work, on my LinkedIn profile. Right. Now, so so as an energy coach, or as someone who is talking to executives and leaders as a framework for energizing yourself, energizing your organization, energizing your mission, if that's the word you want to use. I think you have a uh another interesting assumption maybe to overcome, is that when I hear energy coach, I think, oh boy, are you going to teach me to be a really good motivational speaker? Is that what I have to do? Is go to work every
Oh.
day and be so what, what does it look like?
So that's where it's just like it's digging into that autonomy that we have inside of ourselves. It's that agency of knowing where we want to go. I for the last year, for instance, I could bring up a couple examples of people that I've coached. I've got one leader who's worked in the beauty and wellness space, or one coaching client, and she's trying to figure out how she moves from the behemoth size beauty wellness space to something that's more niche based, right? So that's a different flavor of someone else that I've been coaching, who is a sports broadcaster who's incredibly talented, and they're trying to carve the path to not just being a local sports broadcaster, but build this portfolio that elevates the name of their brand so that they can reach a wider impact and step into. It's a world that I'm not very familiar with, of course, but it's so built into building a cohesive network. And then you have an incredible amount of influence that you drive from a community standpoint and a voice standpoint when you have a broadcast voice that can reach more ears, right? So those are two different flavors, though. One is moving from a bigger organization to a smaller organization. The second example is someone who's moving from a small market to a big market and trying to increase the impact of their voice. But I
Mm,
mentioned those two examples, Elizabeth, because it's they're both of them are based on that personal journey of where they're looking to go next. To dig back to that Odyssey plan that looks 5 to 10 years in the future, that honestly lays out three options. The first option is everything that you're doing remains consistent. The second option is the first option just disappears completely. What's the alternative you build? And then the third is the no limitations, no constraints. And when you pair that with the vision work of the Ikigai piece with that Odyssey plan, you get the center of the vision where people go, but then you get that perspective of where that path leads in the future. So that opens up the vision,
mm.
that then we design the system that fits where they want to go from a vision, and then that breaks down into the smaller, more tangible goals over time.
Mm, okay, let me check. I was just thinking about something earlier, and now it's coming back. I can't. I'm not. I don't want to keep you too much past time, so help me. Don't let me do that, because I will. But I heard this another. By the way, thank you. Those are two fantastic examples, and yes, they are juxtaposed so that I can see two very different characters in two different roles. And yeah, those are really, really good examples. And I was thinking about something that I heard long time ago now, but this was related to health and thinking about retirement. There's someone who has a practice where they talk to someone who, let's say you're about to retire, and you're building your, this particular client had a lake house, and his whole goal for retirement is, well, I want to be able to walk, I have this really nice property, and from the back porch of my home I can walk down like 100 steps or something to my kayak,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
want to be able to physically get from, enjoy every day, be able to get up, take the walk I want to take, get in my kayak, do that trip on the lake, and come back and walk back up the stairs and be able to enjoy that on a day-to-day basis. What do I have to do to prepare for that now? And so the health and fitness coach that I'm thinking of, he builds a regiment saying, okay, you're I'm 41 now, and your goal is to be able to not necessarily run marathons and be a bodybuilder in retirement, but what is the goal you need to achieve to be able to enjoy the things you realistically have before you, that you know you want to be doing every day. And
Right.
so I feel like that kind of a planning is like, okay, what is it that on a day-to-day basis we're going to be getting the most actual tangible experience out of the goal. So,
Right.
and when you're
It's
looking
also,
at
it's
that in
also
business, is it anything like that?
it is like that. I like to tell, I say this a lot to many people in the world, but imagine you're Michelangelo, the famous Italian sculptor, with anything you're doing, and you have a 2-ton block of marble dropped in front of you, no matter where you're trying to go. How many hundreds of thousands of chisel marks does it take to turn that into a beautiful statue?
Mm.
Those small steps really do lead to the bigger impact over time when you build those habits, right? The other thing that I like to think about in this realm, though, you know when we're driven by that internal self determination, that autonomy, if we face a challenge and we get knocked down, we don't just stay knocked down, right? Because when you
Mm.
stay knocked down, that's when you start to atrophy. You don't get back up again. I
Mm.
believe that those of us who are driven with that autonomy, and then when you've got that uplift of the optimistic perspective, you don't just get up, but you work on building that muscle. And just like physical muscles in that example you mentioned, the mental muscles are equally important. And we figure out those recharge rituals that help, right? I coach a lot of people and I say short breaks lead to big boosts in terms of energy, whether it's deep breathing, taking a walk, expressing gratitude, stretching, hydrating, or for me, it's about music. Music is what recharges me. So we each
Mm.
have different unique flavors. And then I've actually dove into some research that expresses leaders who recharge seeing upwards of at least 25% in their engagement as leaders. And
Mm.
that's an incredible shift
A
that
big number.
you make by using those simple tools.
Yeah, that's a huge increase. 25%, you'd feel like a superstar.
Well, and 1% improvements compound, right?
Yeah.
45% of our actions every day are habitual. So build good ones.
Mm.
And then it's also one big piece that I like to talk about. And I actually love to be that accountability partner in my coaching. When you share your goals, it boosts your success chances by upwards of 65%. But then even further, when you build a buddy system,
Hmm.
95% goal achievement that you can hit with regular check-ins. So it's about creating that accountability, whether it's partners, mentors, or even doing a more public commitment, which can feel like something that's scary. So it
Mm.
can feel like a big thing to do. But when you choose that courage over comfort or that growth over fear, that's deeply impactful.
Mm. That's the muscle you're building.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh. Well, okay, so let's make sure. Where do you want me to get in touch with you?
Sure. I mean, you can find me at adamwbarney.com. Again, my book behind me, Make Your Own Glass Half Full, The Empowered Path to Optimism and Autonomy, is available everywhere. You can find it on Amazon. And if anyone wants to work together, find me on LinkedIn. Adam W. Barney is where I can be found there. There you'll find additional tools and resources about the coaching that I like to bring to the table. And I'm all about changing the world. So if you're a moldable leader who needs a little bit of that energy and accountability in their back pocket to move toward the center of that vision and drive change in the world, let's connect.
Yeah, well, now how do I know if I'm moldable?
That's something that I like to unlock. I like those. I people are onions, right? When you start to peel back the layers of the onion, that's when true change happens. We're all moldable. We just have different. Our mold. It's like trauma. Honestly, we've all experienced trauma. The trauma that I feel inside myself feels like it's gigantic, but my trauma from an outward perspective compared to what you've had in your life, Elizabeth, could be totally different scale, but the importance inside of ourselves with trauma is where it fits. It's the same thing with moldability. Some people inside are more moldable than other people, and you just have to peel back the layers of the onions to understand what that true uncomfortableness is. But you start to see that also when you put together some of that ikigai and that Odyssey plan work. You can see how comfortable people are with evolving and changing as well.
Oh, well, okay. So I would like to be on the lookout for if I can recognize that in myself a little.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, Adam, I think that this has been fantastic. I certainly have enjoyed myself and got to learn some more from you and about you. So I'm looking forward to this Make Your Own Glass Half Full and reading that. So, Adam Barney, thank you so much for coming to the Dear Business Coach podcast. And I will talk to you again very soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I hope everyone makes it a great day, no matter what day of the week it is today.
That's right. Yes. Awesome. Talk to you soon.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Oh, no, no, no. I did not mean to do that. Stop recording. Okay, I'll have to remember. You've been listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker, producer and host. Don't forget to subscribe to email. Thank you so much for being here, and find one thing today to move your business forward. Contact me at dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, you are a superstar.